Hi, I'm Taylor and welcome back to Roam Away From Home. Today is all about the Eras Tour floor experience, specifically what it's like to have the GA floor experience. As of today, I have attended the Eras Tour 4 times. Once in Arizona with assigned floor seating, twice in Portugal with GA floor, one from the VIP perspective and one non-VIP, and in Madrid from VIP level section 500 seats. You might also count the 2 times that we tailgated outside of the Denver Stadium as well. I know that you might have anxieties about seeing Taylor Swift from a floor perspective, and I want to share why it is amazing, as well as give tips for you to have the best experience you can. My husband Mike and I have attended over 1,000 concerts outside of the Taylor Swift universe, and most of those experiences have been GA floor pit pass experiences. Personally, it's my favorite way to experience a concert because yes, it can be stressful if you're not prepared, but once you kind of know what you're getting into, I think it's the best way to experience the Eras Tour. And that is coming from the perspective of being on the floor and the seats. Here are some of the best things about floor experience. Kicking the video off this way because I've heard so many negative things. I want to talk about the positives about having a floor ticket for the Eras Tour. Number 1, you can choose who you sit next to. So, no, there are not seats, but you can choose your area of where you want to be. You see a group of people that look like they're cool, fun vibe, nice, kind, short maybe, then you can go stand by them and you can be in that area. If you find you're in a spot and you realize the people around you are gonna maybe be talking throughout the whole show, or the people in front of you are blocking your view, you can move to another area. It's super easy to do, super nice. You don't have to stay in the same spot the entire time. The next thing I really like about floor is it is the closest you can possibly get to Taylor Swift at the Eras Tour. It is very difficult to put the size in perspective until you kind of see it in person. If you are the closest row of seats to Taylor Swift outside of the floor area, you're still pretty far from her. Like, absolutely, one of my top things about floor is if you want to be close to Taylor, it's the closest that you can possibly get is a floor ticket. You can't get that close in the seats regardless of where you're seated. You feel like it's a very intimate experience when you're on floor and you get to have the opportunity to be extremely close. I also like floor because you have more space to dance. Yes, it gets really dense, especially close to the tip of her stage where she does the acoustic set, and then close to the diamond, it can get very dense. But overall, you have more space to bounce around, dance, have fun, look around, see more people. You're more in a group of people that are singing all together. It feels more like this collective effervescence, and you have the space to dance, you have the excitement. My dogs are getting really excited as I'm doing this. Yeah, are you guys happy? I know he needs his nail cut because I keep hearing his little clicky clacks in the video. You have more of that like vibe of togetherness and that Swiftie spirit all close together, whereas in the seats, you're kind of staggered like this, so it doesn't feel like you're kind of in that group dancing experience. It feels a little bit more separated. There is a lot of stuff going on the stage. Taylor moves around a lot, so at any point in the show, you're going to have a good view of her at some point during the show if you have a floor ticket. And if you don't have a good view or you feel like you can't see her at all, that's where you move. You go to another area, you go more to the side, and you will eventually have a good view of Taylor Swift at some point during the show. We all know the stage for the Eras Tour is huge, and the floor is split up into 3 separate sections because of that. In every country, the different sections of the floor are called something a little bit different because they are sold in the native language of that country. So if you're buying tickets in France, it's going to be in French. If you're buying tickets in Portugal, it's going to be in Portuguese. The important thing to know is that the floor has 3 separate sections. The back part of the stage, so where Taylor sings her surprise songs and then going away from the stage, that is going to be backstage. It's sometimes called field. For Portugal, it's called relvado. And then you have the front right and front left stage. So this is where you're going to be closer to the diamond and the stage where Taylor's band typically is. It'll be behind the surprise song. So usually in those 2 sections, you're gonna be kind of looking at Taylor's butt when she's playing the surprise songs. These will all be a little bit different depending on the country, but they're typically called front right and front left. Within each of those floor sections, you can also get VIP tickets. VIP is not separated from the GA, but what it is it allows you early entry. So that means that for every Eras Tour show that has GA floor experience, there are 3 different ticket types according to the section of the floor, as well as VIP tickets, which means that there are a total of 6 different ticket types if you're on the floor. As a reminder, Europe has very strict anti-scalping laws, but if you see floor tickets for sale on a reseller third-party website, sometimes they will not designate which area of the floor it is, and that can vastly change your experience. So you want to make sure if you're buying tickets and if you're buying last second tickets as well, that you pay attention to if they are front left, front right, back, VIP, non-VIP. Those are going to be the different options. YouTube prevents me from sharing Eras Tour videos with the audio in it for my long form content. So I have shorts that I've uploaded, and I'm going to continue uploading shorts so that you can see the different views from the different floor areas. I have posted some, and I'm going to continue sharing some clips in this video, but if you want to see actual video with the audio also, then you're going to have to look at our shorts. One thing that's cute is that each section of the floor has a different wristband color. This section was Relvado Night 1, which is the backstage Night 1 for Lisbon, and it's 1989 era with seagulls. In our Facebook group, we polled everyone. Every single section of the floor had a different era wristband, and it changed every night. So there were 6 eras total for Portugal, which was pretty cute and fun. This also is a way to prevent people from going between the different areas of the stage. So far in the stadiums, it is nearly impossible to leave the floor and go to another area of the floor. They separate it the way they do so that all the backfield people have the same entrance and the same exit. All the front right people, same thing. Front left people, same thing. You cannot go in between the different sections. So if your friend has front right and you have front left, you will not be able to meet up at the show. They are completely separated by barriers. A big reason for this is safety. They have had to take people out of the stage due to dehydration or overheating at almost every location. These barriers between the different sections allow security guards to walk freely between the exits and allow people to get emergency services. So there is a reason for it. It also helps with crowd control. One thing that surprised me about the way that the floor is set up at the Eras Tour, specifically in Europe, is the majority of the stadiums are going to be football or soccer stadiums. These stadiums are different than American football. American football is longer and narrow, and football, real football, soccer is wider and shorter. And that also means that the area that you have on the front right and front left, it goes out really wide on the sides, but it's not super deep. Each floor type for each stadium is slightly different. For example, in Portugal, the back, so Relvado, the backfield stage, that barrier went all the way up to the surprise song area of Taylor's stage, so the very tip, the top of the T. We were so close, and it was unexpected because instead of the stage being a flat line, like a flat line, and then it's her, and then a barrier, and then her stage, the way they did it was like this. So it kind of went in a little bit, meaning that our section was in this little corner because we were VIP, so we got in really early. So we were in this little corner. Instead of it being flat line, it was the curvy line. We were in a corner looking at the surprise song set, and we were extremely close to Taylor anytime she came towards the end of the stage. In Madrid, the backfield was just a straight line. You didn't have those little divots or those little corners, so you were farther away from Taylor when it comes to how close you could be from the stage. There's only one view, which is straight ahead of the stage. I say this because basically every stadium has a slightly different setup based on their capacity of the floor and also the size of the field. You can use other people's videos and photos and stuff to get an idea of where you can get a good spot. No matter what, you're going to be able to be pretty close to Taylor, but it's going to have slightly different views. Your experience in each section is going to be pretty different as well. The backfield has what would be considered maybe the worst view in terms of the overall performance, especially if it's set up kind of how Madrid was with a straight line, so you're only limited to a front-facing view. The stage is so long at the Eras Tour, I don't even know how to give it perspective besides sharing pictures, but Taylor will look like a tiny little dot when she's at the very front of her stage close to her big screens. However, when she comes close to the surprise songs, close to the end for her Fearless set, 1989, Folklore, she walks up a lot towards the end of the stage, you will have a great view regardless of where you are on the back fields. I have also found that it seems like waiting times and when people line up for the backfield is longer. It's like maybe the more intense Swifties are in that backfield section. If you have front right or front left, you're guaranteed a good spot and good viewing area at some point during the show. You can view something like the Folklore cabin from right next to the stage because most people don't want to be complete side views, or you can go towards the very back of the front right or front left section and you're going to be closer to her for her surprise song sets. That's her acoustic set or her, when she walks to the back of the stage. When it comes to front right and front left, a lot of people congregate around the diamond, so the middle area where her stage really lifts up during Reputation, 1989. That section is where the most people and the most dense crowds will be. My friend and I were seeing her front right stage, night 2 in Lisbon. We both made the conscious decision that we did not want to fight the crowds. We weren't VIP. We showed up at 5:30 p.m., walked right into the stadium, and we had amazing views. We were able to kind of hop around throughout the whole area, find spots that gave us good views because we're both short. I'm 5'3", she's shorter than I am. And we saw Taylor from an amazing view. We were so shocked of how relaxed we were because we showed up a little bit later and we still got amazing spots. So if you have front right, front left, I recommend not fighting the crowds as much. You don't need to line up as early and you'll still get a really good view. If you're going to be on the field and you have GA, you will be further back. Think more music festival viewing. You're close for a festival, but kind of far for a typical concert. And the Eras Tour is anything but a typical concert. And I share this information because I want you to know, if you have a preference for where you want to get a ticket for Floor, I would recommend and choose every time front right or front left. We got very lucky with VIP backfield. So if you have VIP backfield, then you're gonna have an amazing view, 100%. Some people have been lining up at 5 a.m. for the show, keeping in mind Taylor goes on usually between 7:45 and 8:15 p.m. That's a long day. So typically they'll line up that early. In some locations that allow it, people are camping overnight and arriving days in advance. This is a long show. It's a long day. If you're doing Floor, you're standing almost the entire time. I've said this in previous videos. I'm going to continue saying it. I do not recommend lining up that early. I think the earliest you should line up, and this is if you really are dedicated and you have a lot of stamina and you're used to Floor or festival experiences, 10 a.m. is the earliest that I personally would go. I lined up for VIP backfield Floor at 1:30 p.m. and we were 190th in line. The first 200 people to any Floor experience are going to have the most amazing views. So if you are in the first few hundred people, I would say the first 400 people, you're going to have an amazing view. Going as number 1 in line, number 2, number 50, number 100 in line, you're not going to get that much better of a viewing spot than you will from person number 400. And that's just the reality. So it's up to you if you want to line up super early, days in advance. It is truly not necessary. If you have a Floor ticket and your GA Floor, you also will be going in after VIPs. So what has happened so far is the timeline goes, if you have a VIP ticket, you check in between 3 and 3:45 p.m. If you arrive after 3:45 p.m., then you lose your VIP benefits. If you're VIP, I would get into your line just before 3 p.m. So between 2 and 2:30, I think is a sweet spot and you're gonna get a great view if you show up at that time. That's the benefit of VIP. It's way more expensive than the GA Floor, but you get a merch box and you get to have a more chill line experience in most cases, not ours. For the European shows, it is very typical that a fan will take it upon themselves to write numbers with permanent marker on your hand to designate where you are in line. I still do not think that this works great. I think that it works sometimes. I think it can be helpful, but I have actually seen a lot more stress and rudeness from the system. I have a long TikTok video about this and how brutal some of the fans can be with this numbering system, especially if they decide that certain people deserve earlier numbers than others, and it's just kind of arbitrary. I fully understand this is typical for European concerts. I just think that the way that the line system works at the Eras Tour, that doesn't necessarily help. It was bad. I'm just gonna say that was the most negative experience that I have had at the Eras Tour, was lining up with some really rude people who were just super hot and super cranky, very young Swifties that felt the real intensity of wanting to be in charge. So my advice is get a number on your hand. If you see other people having a number on their hand, you make friends with everyone around you, exchange friendship bracelets, start doing this in line. That's one of the fun parts about the show. Start exchanging friendship bracelets while you're in line, making friends with the people around you, helping each other out. If someone's alone and they need to go to the toilet, hold their spot in line. I know that's what the number systems are for, but also people were sweaty, rainy, those markers, it rubbed off. It just did not work that well in Portugal. So if you're in that situation, help the people around you. If you recognize someone coming back after the toilet, let them return to their spot in line. We've all been there for hours. It only makes sense to be kind to the people around you, because you're going to continue being around them throughout the show. If you are regular GA floor, it is up to you how early you want to show up. If you have kids or limited mobility, I do not recommend lining up early. And I'll talk more about kids specifically later on in this video. I'll do chapters so you can skip to the kids section if you want. If you are a diehard Swiftie and you want to be really close to Taylor, you might be right on the rail, the barricades, you might be that if you're really early on the GA floor, but on it, you will likely be, if you're first few people in line for GA non-VIP floor, then you are likely going to be 2 or 3 rows of people back. Still an amazing view, by the way, amazing views, but you're not going to be right on the barricade. You might get lucky, but typically you'll be a couple rows of people back. Every single type of ticket has a different entry point. And every stadium is different. So what you're gonna wanna do is follow your specific stadium on social media, follow the tour organizers. For Portugal and Spain, it was last tour, but that changes. Follow local news, local people covering Taylor Swift. So if you have an account that you're following and they cover a lot about Taylor Swift in your specific area, follow them, because they will also be sharing these policies. Every stadium is different. All those stadium policies are different. So in order to line up at the correct place, you're going to want to really do some research on your own and make sure that if you have backfield, you're lining up at the correct area. If you waste all day in the wrong line, you actually will be asked to go to a different entry point. So it's not worth hoping for the best, lining up in the wrong line, and then you have to go start the whole process over again and likely be at the back of the line. If your friends have different floor ticket types than you, that also means that you won't be in line together, because they typically enter, if you're doing front right and front left stage, they'll enter from opposite sides of the stadium. And that's to help with crowd control and also ensure everyone gets in a timely manner. So you won't be in line together. Same, so you can imagine it's like you're lining up like this from the sides of the stadium, and then for backfield, you're lining up from the back of the stadium. So once you get into the floor, I immediately used the toilet because I really needed to, and then we went to our spot on the floor. As from VIP night, we were right on the barricades, really close. There were 2 girls in front of us, very short girls, and then we just kind of all hung out together. We made friends with everyone around us that first night and exchanged bracelets, gave out stickers, all the things. And what that helped with was when any one of us needed to go to the bathroom in this group of about 15, one of us would go, ask if anyone needed something, bring back water, bring back food. We honestly all banded together and all took care of each other and made sure we can go in and out. This is definitely okay to do up to Paramore. So once Paramore starts, everyone stands up, or the opener. Once the first band starts, typically everyone will stand up, listen to the concert, sit back down to take a break, because again, you're standing on your feet all day long, and usually it's hot in European summers. It is common and normal and should be more accepted to take a bathroom break before Taylor Swift, after an opener. So if you're in between openers or you're in between Paramore and Taylor Swift, run to the toilet, get a drink, whatever you need to do, come back. This is normal concert etiquette, and people should allow you back to your area. If you are just entering the field and you do not have a close spot, you will not be able to get a close spot at this point for sure. This is where, you got in later, hang out towards the back. That's okay too. You're going to have a great time. When Taylor Swift starts, before Taylor Swift starts, the countdown starts, all that, everyone stands up, super excited. The crowd condenses a little because you go from sitting to standing, so you get a little bit closer together. It's floor. You should be allowed to have space to dance and, jump up and down and not hit the people around you. However, it depends on the crowd. If you don't like your crowd, if someone's blocking your view, the best thing about floor is that you can move around. So if you find a little group of people that you really have a good vibe with, good energy with, you're going to want to stay there for the rest of the night. If you get to in a little area and those people are just not giving you the best energy, vibes, or you're behind some really tall guy with a cowboy hat, then move before Taylor Swift starts, because it's so much harder to do it once she does start. So once Taylor starts, if you have to go to the toilet during Taylor Swift and you're close to the barricades, it's unlikely you're going to be able to get back to your spot. Full disclosure. That is why if you have kids, limited mobility, or you use the toilet a lot, I recommend sitting more towards the back of floor, standing more towards the back of floor. For the stadiums in Europe, they have been giving out free water. So some stadiums allow water bottles, some don't. Kind of depends on your security guard, it seems like. I was able to bring one to Madrid, but not in Portugal. And basically, they have these water stations throughout the floor where you can fill up your water. Either it is a station like they had in Sweden, where it's self-fill, or it is people filling up your water bottle or your water cups. They provide you cups, it's free water, and they will provide you water throughout the night so you don't get dehydrated, because that is a huge concern of Taylor's and Taylor's team. It's also very dangerous to not drink water. Do not dehydrate yourself because you're trying not to go to the toilet. You will likely pass out and miss the show. So instead of doing that, continue to hydrate. As you're dancing and stuff, you're going to need to hydrate. You're around a lot of people, it gets sweaty. You will need to hydrate. Do not skip that step. It is just not worth it for yourself, your own health, your own safety. Do not risk it by avoiding water. It is the worst idea that you could probably have. If you're gonna skip out on something, skip out on alcohol and drink water. And I've said that in previous videos, and I cannot believe how many people still decided not to drink water with floor tickets just so they don't have to use the toilet. You will still be able to see Taylor Swift if you use the toilet in the middle. Just stay safe. I mean, it's like common sense, but no matter how many times I say it, there are that many people online saying they're skipping water for the show. Just don't do it. Here's my hot take on which eras are better on the floor versus the seats. There's LEDs covering the entire floor that light up with different graphics and imagery. This makes it so that no matter what seat you have as a seat, you have a good one, because there's so much going on the stage, you're still very engaged with the show, even if you're super, super high up like we were in section 500. When you are on the floor, you absolutely don't see any of that. You do not see the graphics on the floor at all unless they show it on one of the cameras on the big screen. Not seeing the graphics on the stage is probably the biggest negative about floor tickets, and that could be enough to deter someone from not wanting a floor ticket. I still think overall, more benefits. From my experience, the only eras that are better from a seat are 1989 and Reputation, and that is because of how much is going on the stage, the dancers, the lights, the fire. I mean, it is really cool. Tons of props, tons of light up props. So you get to see the whole view and everything that's going on from the seats for those two eras. You do miss out on that if you're on the floor a little bit. The torture pose department, I think, is equally good from the floor and from the seats. There's a lot going on the stage and the graphics and a lot of dancing, similar kind of thing. But on the floor, you get to see some of the props up closer and the detail of the props, and the screen has a lot of cool graphics as well. So you still get to see the big screen, you just don't get to see the LEDs on the stage. I think Midnights is good from the seats as well. I still prefer it from the floor, but it's pretty good on the seats. I think that anything with confetti, which is Karma and Red Era, those both are better on the floor. My favorite eras on the floor are Red and Fearless. It gets the whole crowd so hyped up, and I don't know, I can't pick a favorite. The Torture Pose department is also my favorite on the floor. They're all my favorite. My Tears Ricochet, also favorite on the floor. I cannot pick, but I prefer the floor. After all my Eras Tour experiences, I can say the floor is my preferred viewing for the Eras Tour. I hope that this video gets you super pumped and excited for floor experience, especially if it's a GA floor experience. You're going to have a good time no matter what. Remember, it's a long day. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and make friends with fellow Swifties. That's one of the best things about this whole experience. If you love Taylor Swift music, you're gonna have a good time regardless. It is so fun to be surrounded by tens of thousands and sometimes even 100,000 Swifties all singing along together. It is truly a one-of-a-kind experience. For anyone that I did meet at the Eras Tour, it was enchanting to meet you. It was really fun to connect with people in real life outside of the digital atmosphere, trade friendship bracelets, giveaway stickers, all of the things. My husband and I live in Portugal, so we cover a lot of European music events. We also cover some US events too, more than just Taylor Swift. So subscribe if you want to see more music festival tips, European shows, travel, international living. We share that kind of content on our channel, and subscribe for more. Thanks. Bye.